In a fiercely contested pre-election showdown on Wednesday night, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Labour Party leader Keir Starmer engaged in a heated exchange over critical issues, including the cost of living, taxes, immigration policies, and gender rights. Facing potential defeat in his Richmond, Prime Minister Sunak repeatedly cautioned voters during the 75-minute debate not to surrender to Labour on various policy fronts. The Conservative Party, in power for 14 years, has trailed Labour by approximately 20 points in opinion polls, exacerbated by challenges such as a strained National Health Service and a mounting cost of living crisis post-pandemic. The debate delved into the record-high tax burden under the Sunak administration, criticised by the Independent Institute of Fiscal Studies earlier in the week for lacking transparency about the trade-offs between taxes and public services. Sunak vocally opposed Starmer's alleged plans for pension taxes, asserting, "Taxing your pension, council tax, or home. It's in their DNA." Labour has a strong counterattack against the Tories on tax and the economy by highlighting Liz Truss. Starmer consistently mentioned her troubled premiership and pointed out that unlike Jeremy Corbyn, who was expelled from Labour, Truss remains a Conservative candidate despite her economic failures. He accused the Tories of making promises without funding, warning of a potential Liz Truss Mark II scenario. Sunak, responding late in the campaign, directly criticised Truss and argued he had previously warned about the impact of her policies during their Conservative leadership contest. He suggested that Labour's policies could lead to similar economic consequences. Regarding immigration, Starmer criticised the government's proposal to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda as impractical, while Sunak defended robust immigration controls, arguing against the return of undocumented migrants to countries like Iran and Afghanistan.
But the way to solve this problem is to have a deterrent. And look, I will tell you this, the Rwanda plan is a deterrent. You just have to listen to what the illegal migrants themselves are saying. One of them just said, "Most of us are still in France due to the fear we have about Rwanda." Another one said, "I won't cross the channel until the Rwanda plan is destroyed." If Labour win, the people smugglers are going to need a bigger boat.
Sunak defended his proposal to send certain migrants to Rwanda as a deterrent, while Starmer criticised the effectiveness of the plan, arguing it was not working.
There are a few hundred that would go on a flight to Rwanda at huge expense to the taxpayer. There are tens of thousands. 50,000 people have come since Rishi Sunak has been Prime Minister, 50,000 across the Channel. A few hundred going every year means there's a 99% chance you're not going to Rwanda. Now, I've worked with criminal gangs, Rishi Sunak. I know that they are telling the people they're exploiting there's a 99% chance of not going to Rwanda. That is not a disincentive. That is not a deterrent, and it's not working.
Both Sunak and Starmer affirmed their commitment to safeguarding women's rights to single-sex spaces, independent of possessing a gender recognition certificate. Starmer said, "What I will also say is that I do recognise that there are a small number of people who are born into a gender that they don't identify with, and I will treat them, as I treat all human beings, with dignity and respect." The issue garnered significant attention during the debate, with Starmer's response drawing notable applause. 5 Conservative politicians and staffers have been suspended for allegedly betting on the election date. Labour faced a similar issue when one of its candidates was suspended for betting he wouldn't win his seat. Starmer stated that he acted quickly, suspending his candidate Kevin Craig within minutes, contrasting with Sunak's delayed response.
I made very clear that if any of my candidates was being investigated in relation to the Gambling Commission, I'd remove them straight away, which is what I've done. That's in a sharp contrast to Rishi Sunak, who took days and days and days before he took action. There's a wider story here about the choice at the general election next week between carrying on with what we've had for the last 14 years or so. The inaction by Rishi Sunak is just absolutely in keeping with the way that they've governed for 14 years, or turning the page and starting to rebuild the country with the sort of leadership that takes decisive action.
Starmer shined during the debate's conclusion when discussing how to retain young people in the UK. He emphasised Labour's ambitious housing plans, calling the housing crisis of the past decade a tragedy. Starmer advocated for building 1.5 million houses, criticising the Prime Minister for lowering house building targets, which he claimed dashed the hopes of young people nationwide. As the UK electorate prepares to cast their votes, the debate between Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Labour leader Keir Starmer highlighted profound policy differences and personal appeals. With polls showing a significant lead for Labour and mounting challenges facing the Conservative Party, the nation awaits the outcome of the election.